inflation on rent in New York City over the past decade and how it has affected people. Living in New York City is often described as thrilling yet challenging. With the city's vibrant culture, endless opportunities, and nice views, the cost of living here is financially burdening. The biggest financial setback for residents is the rent, which has been ranked the highest in the country. Over the past decade, rent has rose so high, people are wanting to leave. Housing costs are unpredicted, and along with inflation going on, we cannot secure an apartment for under $1,000. 10 years ago, a two-bedroom was $1,200. In the past decade, New York City's rents has increased significantly, creating many challenges for residents. Around 69% of residents in New York City are renters. As of 2024, the median rent came out to $3,241, a 13.7% increase compared to pre-pandemic levels. Boroughs like Brooklyn and Manhattan have been experiencing the most growth, with rents rising by 40% and some up to over 60% over the last 5 years, requiring an income of $180,000 to maintain affordability, based on the fact that rent should not be over 30% of a household income. This chart from FurmanCenter.org shows us that Manhattan and Brooklyn have experienced the most growth, pushing rents to levels that are simply unattainable for the average resident. These trends are alarming and show how unaffordable the city has become for many people. According to FurmanCenter.org, in New York City, the median gross rent increased by 16.2% between 2011 and 2021, compared to 15.9% nationwide. Manhattan remains the borough with the highest median gross rent, but Brooklyn saw the highest rate of increase. Median rents increased from $1,393 in 2011 to $1,727 in 2021. Data from Zillow also shows that rent went up by 27.5% compared to wages, which only went up by 11.2%. Why did rent increase so dramatically? Well, there are many reasons as to why rent has gone so up this past decade, and COVID plays a big factor in this. During the pandemic, residents started moving out of New York City since homes and flight tickets were incredibly cheap at the time. Landlords struggled with high vacancy rates and offered solutions like free rent to attract tenants. As the city reopened in 2021, many people started coming back or moving to the city. Demands for apartments rushed, leading to increases on rent. By 2023, rent hit record highs as inflation pushed prices up. This chart shows the number of apartments available versus the asking rent. The blue lines signify the available apartments, meanwhile the multicolored lines show the asking rent. In early 2020, the pandemic caused a spike in apartment availability and asking rents dropped significantly. But by the end of 2022, it was a completely different story. Apartment availability plummeted and asking rents skyrocketed. This dramatic shift highlights how quickly the market can change and how renters are often left scrambling to keep up. Gentrification, a process that occurs when affluent people move into a historically disinvested neighborhood, which can lead to the displacement of lower-income residents, is a huge factor for rent increases. Most people affected by this are renters, which serves as a big part of this problem. Rich people move into apartments in particularly bad neighborhoods, causing property taxes to go up. According to RealtyCollective.com, over the past decade, New York City has experienced steady economic growth, with job opportunities and wages rising. Additionally, gentrification and real estate speculation drive up in housing costs, particularly in neighborhoods undergoing rapid transformation. Landlords often prioritize profit over tenants' needs, raising rents to match skyrocketing property values. Sadly, this means many people are being pushed out of their homes. Another reason why people are finding a hard time to afford apartments is because landlords are raising it up each year. There are some apartments which aren't rent stabilized, which means apartments that are protected from large rent increases and required services. This makes landlords abuse their power and charge more rent for no reason. Landlords will typically raise rents to match market rates, accommodate tax increases, or simply to profit off of it. According to HCR.ny.gov, rent stabilization provides protections to tenants besides limitations on the amount of rent increases. Tenants are entitled to receive required services, to have their leases renewed, and may not be evicted except on grounds allowed by law. Leases may be renewed for a term of 1 or 2 years at the tenant's choice. How can we find a solution to this problem? Although the options are slim, the best way this problem could end is if there were regulations on rent, which could control and stabilize it. Signing a petition which states that a law will be passed for rent to get increased only by 2.5% every 5 years minimum. Tenants also have the right to file complaints with agencies like DHCR if they believe their landlord is overcharging them or violating lease terms. We created a petition to advocate for stronger rent stabilization laws in New York City. If you've been affected by rising rents, we urge you to sign and share it. The more support we gather, the closer we can get to meaningful change. If you click the link in the bio or type up the link on the screen, you can enter your information very quickly for us to get your signature. New York City's rent crisis is a multi-phase problem driven by inflation, gentrification, and the pandemic. The rising costs are making it harder for residents to live comfortably, with some even losing their homes. But there are steps we can take, advocating for stricter regulations, filing complaints, and supporting petitions. Together, we can push for a fair, more affordable housing market in New York City. Thank you for watching, and let's make change happen.